My name is Daniel Ramsey, and today I'm going to talk about how to train a virtual team member inside of your business. Now, before we get going, I want to give you context about who I am and why you should actually listen. There's nobody in the world that have hired more virtual team members and launched them into businesses than myself. Over the last 17 years, I've done it 9,000 times for over 6,000 customers. I've made all the mistakes, and what I want for you is to launch your team member and not have any of the trials or tribulations that I had, so that you can have success, grow, and scale your business. Now, we're gonna break this into 4 different sections. It's really important that you understand. The first is just the tools required. The second is just your company context and culture. This is a really big one that a lot of people miss. The third is how to train, really important. You don't have to actually do all the work yourself or rely on your team. There's actually some processes that you can put in place. And the fourth is just the role-specific stuff. Now, what's wild is people typically screw up. They get the tools right, they miss a couple, they skip this. This is typically half-baked, and they have some of the stuff here. So what I'm gonna do is give you all the context for these 4 different areas and walk through step by step so you have the right foundation. Number 1, I want you to launch a virtual team member just like you would any other employee inside your business. So what that means is give them an email, give them a phone system. You know, it's the funny thing about the phone is you really want to have a company phone line. So when they're calling, it says I'm calling from MyOutDesk and not some third-party burner phone or some cheap Gmail thing. Launch them with your VoIP phone system. VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, very important that it has your company name on it. What's interesting about the phone piece too is you want to have them be able to have a voicemail. You want to have them to be able to text message. You know, these are the basics for somebody. The next is a password vault. I like 1Password. Google has one. There's another one called 1Pass, but a 1Password is the one that I use. I really like it. What that does is it allows you to teach your virtual professional to not save passwords on their local computer, but inside of the cloud, and then password protect it. So you have one login for your virtual team member. They can access the things that actually really matter, and not everything. And then if there is some issue, you can actually remove them from the company with one single password. So it's a big deal. Next, some sort of task management. Asana, Monday, there's a ton of them out there, and I really don't, Notion is another great one. I really don't care which one you're using, but it's important that you have some sort of a task management platform so that as you're working with your virtual assistant, you can keep track of the day-to-day things that you're putting on their plate. Another one that's really important is some sort of a recording software, whether it's RingCentral, Zoom, Loom, some place so that you can actually record the training for your virtual assistant. So your virtual team member needs to be able to understand context, the how, what, and why. I like to do a task with them, answering questions and actually walking through the context of why this task is important. And we'll record our screen so they can have access to that in the future. So I would say a Loom or a Zoom or some Google Suite where you can actually record videos and help your virtual assistant learn and retain the information. Very important. At MyOutDesk, we have 2 forms of a primary internet and a backup. We also have a battery source or a generator for our people if power ever goes down. Some of our customers want virtual desktops, and so it's really important that you understand the tools that your virtual team member has in place in order to deliver. We had a customer the other day who's like, look, I'm a lawyer, we're constantly reviewing forms, I need my person to have 2 screens. So really important that the hardware setup is correct for the role. And it's very inexpensive to do 2 screens. It's very inexpensive to do, to have the right computer so that the virtual team member can actually work. Now, another really important tool is an IP blocker. Now, if I'm in Sacramento, so if I search in Google for something, it's going to bring up first local results. Well, it's the same with a virtual team member. Wherever they are in the world, Google is going to deliver local results first. And so it's going to be very difficult to go online and search, and you might need an IP blocker. An IP blocker simply will let the computer or the hardware that your virtual team members use It'll block where in the world they are so they can gain access to your systems and processes. Really important. Most people overlook this, but you want to make sure if they're logging into the systems, they can actually do that. An IP blocker will help. These are the main tools, and I want to provide a thought process here. Think, whatever my US team has currently in order to do their jobs, I need to make sure I duplicate that for my virtual team member so they can be effective. So that includes meetings, that includes all the tools, hardware. Some of our clients are buying laptops, some of them are doing virtual laptops. Really important that you have these things set up before they actually come on and start working. Because if you don't have these things, what happens is you feel like you're wasting money or time, and that's no good for either party. So really important things here. Real quick, we're gonna go into company context and culture. Now, this is a really important thing. As a founder and CEO, you wanna help your virtual team member understand who your customer is, what your mission is, what your company culture is, who you serve, where you're going, vision, cultural context, all that stuff. And this is an important thing. I like to use Zoom to record those conversations so that you can do it once and they can watch and over and over and over. But it's really important that you explain, hey, this is how we run our business. This is how we serve our customers. This is how we expect you to behave. I mean, something as simple as, what's your policy for paid time off? Right? I mean, that's a simple thing, but this is an HR function, and it comes from, the founder or the CEO needs to tell their story. Somebody in HR needs to explain the policies and procedures for working at the company. So in this section, you're doing mission, vision, values. So that's number one, mission, vision, values. You want to talk about the customer. What problems are we solving for the customer? Where are we going as a company? This is really important because the virtual team member, like any team member, needs to understand how their value is going to impact the company value. So where are we heading? So where are we going and why? So there's HR policies. We talked a little bit about that, like what's your paid time off policy? How do I get help? What's my vacation time? Like all the stuff that's important for running the business. This is the company culture and context. Really important here because what you want is you want your virtual team member to fold into the mission and all the things inside your company. And this is a part that most companies skip when hiring a virtual team member because it's hard. It's hard, it takes time. Here's another one that's a big deal. How about your strategic plan and their individual part into that plan? That's a cool part. If you focus on these company contexts and the culture stuff, you will have more success with your virtual team member. Okay, we're gonna go on to training. This is probably the most daunting. I wanna give you a perspective real quick before we jump into the tactical stuff. This is all tactical stuff, which is a big deal, but sometimes there's a mindset that's important. I'm gonna draw right now this is we use this slide all the time. On this axis, it's value, and on this axis, there's time. See, in the beginning, when you hire somebody, whether it's a virtual team member or a C-suite person or a manager or just an individual contributor inside your business, as a company, you spend a lot of time getting them up to speed, and it's very low value for that company because it takes time to launch someone. So what we say that happens is you're gonna start seeing value within 90 to 180 days. And the variance there is literally how good you are at setting somebody up with the tools, giving them the company culture, and then providing great training. So this is the issue. Most companies fail with virtual team members because they're missing some context or some portion of this exact process. So training, you do not have to do it yourself. You can buy, you can borrow, and last you can build. So these are the three ways to get training done. So buy. No matter what the position is, nothing a virtual team member is going to do for your business is brand new in your industry. None of it's brand new. And yet, as entrepreneurs or CEOs or founders, we think we need to do it all ourselves, but it's not true. You can actually buy. There's a ton of platforms online, free universities, paid training programs, where you can actually buy the training or some components of the training for your virtual team member. So it's a really good thing to consider and think through. The other thing you can do is borrow. So everybody has peers in their industry, and there's somebody who's ahead of you and has already hired a virtual team member. Really important to see if you can R&D. R&D is rip off and redistribute. Take what they've done or they've implemented and borrow it and implement it for your business. Really big deal. And then last is build. Build is the hardest, but it's the most valuable for your company, because once you've built it, it's yours and it has your company context in it. So hardest to do, most valuable for your business. In the build place, what I like is play, pause, do. So literally, when I was new to hiring virtual team members, what I would do is I would actually hire somebody and then I'd do the work myself on a Zoom, recording the screen, talking about the how, what, and why as I'm doing the work. And it's a really big deal because then they can ask questions, you can walk through a task, you can tell them about where you log in, where you find the information, and it will give them the context and the surety to know that they're doing it the right way, to have a video to reference as they're doing the work. Another perspective here for you, which is really important, the military, the best fighting force in the world ever to be known, they have a training process, and it's you watch me doing the work, then we practice together, then I watch you doing the work and I'm coaching you as you do it, and then you, being the new person, go and actually train someone else. That process is called mastery, and people forget it, but in business, this is the biggest thing that you can do. Build your own, follow the play, pause, do, and aim for mastery in teaching your virtual team member how to do their job and actually be successful. So I'm gonna write this down for you. It's a very simple, so it's watch, practice, do, and then teach. Very simple, yet very effective. And the issue in this training is whenever I've seen my virtual team member make a mistake, it's because I've left out or I've forgotten something. Once you do enough of this play, pause, do, and the watch, practice, do, teach, what'll happen is your virtual assistant or your virtual team member can actually write out SOPs and build a system and a process for your business. And that's a big deal. And they can start owning the overall doing of that function. Now, once they own the overall doing of that function, you'll get what's called time freedom or compound leverage, where you've given a job away and you get that rest of that time it took you to do that job back for the rest of your career because you've put it into a system and process, which is a big deal. This is actually the definition of leverage. It's actually the definition of scale. And yet, so many people fall down in this area. So wanted to provide that kind of specific thing to you. Okay, moving on, role specific. Now, this is a place most people just simply, here's your job description, and that's it. But I'm gonna go over an ironclad plan for launching of really anybody, but a virtual team member specific into your business in the specific role. So the very first thing is a job description. You need to have a job description that fully articulates not only the individual role that they're going to be fulfilling, but the outcome that they're supposed to get. Outcomes are saving time, growing revenue, reducing cost. Those are the three outcomes that we focus on for our virtual team members. And so your job description has to talk about the doing, but also the outcome. And again, it's usually time, revenue, or cost, reducing cost. Those are the three outcomes. The next thing is, do I have a defined system and process? So am I launching this person into a system and process? A lot of people hear this and think, oh yeah, I have a system and process, but the question is it articulated in writing? Do you have this SOP in writing saying exactly how to do the job? And for most businesses, they don't, or it's old, or it hasn't been updated in a while. Now you can do this inside of a Loom or some sort of online training platform like Notion. There's a whole bunch of them, Trainial. But a system and process that is specific to this job description would also have some form of audit. So an audit is looking at the job description, looking at the outcome, looking at the system and process, and saying, are we getting the outcome that we want from this particular specific role? So I'll give you a couple examples. An audit for an outcome is like, how many hours is my team member spending on the phone talking with customers? That is a audit. You can actually audit a person's daily interactions with a customer, especially if they're in sales. If they're in a lead nurturing program of some sort, this is a place for audit. If their job is to save you time and you've gotten through the first initial training of 90 or 180 days, the next question for an audit for somebody who's saving time is like, hey, how much time and how many tasks did I get off of my plate? How many things did I give away that I don't have to focus on anymore? And you actually would be doing that audit. Again, we go back to the systems in this task management platform. So every time they're doing something to save time, you're auditing whether the tasks are being done and whether or not you're actually getting time back inside of your day. So these are role-specific requirements. Now, part of the role is how often do I have to meet with this person after the training period? How often do we need a daily huddle? Do we need a weekly meeting? Do we need a once a month review of the outcome and results for this position? So the last thing that I would say in the role specific is a meeting cadence for the virtual team member so that they can launch properly into your business. Bare minimum, there's a morning huddle, there's an end of day report. This is a huge thing that we do here at MyOutDesk for virtual team members. Every single person of our 2,400 or so folks are actually out there sending an email to their customer at the end of the day saying, hey, these are all the things that I've done throughout the day. These are all the things that I've completed. These are the things that I need more support on or I need help on or that are carrying over to the next day. So a meeting cadence, and then finally start of day and end of day reporting. Really important to know that although this is a lot of tactical information, you're not alone. You're not alone in this process. Hiring a virtual team member, we've actually put together a guide, a free PDF with all of this information and our best tools. So you can actually just go back into the show notes, link it, grab it, take it. The other thing, I want to leave you with two more things. Number one, you don't have to do this all yourself. There's Dr. Google, Professor YouTube, there's now free online universities and the AI gods. Wrapping AI around your virtual team member so they can be more effective. I mean, design, finding information, writing blogs, writing shorts. Like, it's insane, these programs out there that are great tools that you can add to your virtual assistant so that they can come and train faster and be a bigger impact to your business. So the last thing, if you're at all interested in moving forward with a virtual team member, nobody has done this more than MyOutDesk. I personally have helped thousands of people like you launch and implement virtual team members into the business profitably, meaning we didn't make a mistake, we got you the right talent, you're scaling and growing now. We can help you too. You just go to the show notes below, click on the free consultation. We'll take this context and apply it to your business so you can grow and scale with virtual team members.